Well, it has been a very wonderful week in the land of Lubbock, Texas. Nothing really strange happening lately for the Texas Tech Red Raiders as they prepare for the 2026 season. A lot to expect. The Brendan Sorsby saga, for now, has him eligible, but what's to come for the near future? Because this is a situation that is going to generate a lot of controversy. What's going to happen internally with this whole situation? And what do we expect from the Red Raiders as they prepare for the 2026 season? Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas Hill here of the Southern Sports Scene. Make sure you all do us a favor. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, posting a video or posting a short here on the Southern Sports Scene. As always, we want to thank our good friends and partners over at FrostBuddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com, use the promo code SSS15 to get 15% off your first purchase on all things cups, mugs, and tumblers. Also, thank you to our friends over at Chike Nutrition. 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of sugar to start off every day with a healthy, hearty cup of coffee. And we, as always, we love to partner with our good friends over at Buzzer. Download the Buzzer app today to get all of the best content of nothing but sports. RC Maxfield of the Red and Black Report joins us to talk all things Texas Tech football. RC, pretty boring day for the most part. For the most part, I'd say. But how are you today, my friend?
Tired, to say the
Aren't we
least.
all?
Yeah. Some of us more than others. But it's been a week when it comes to the Scarlet and Black, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be slowing down anytime soon in terms of the national narratives being put out there.
So I said this all the way back in May when this news first broke out. Because I didn't have all the details. I didn't know that there was a lot of things going on between state lines. I thought that we were going to get maybe a 2 or 3 game suspension, underage gambling. Okay, that's pretty much it. Then it gets to the amount that he's betting. And now I think, okay, now this is going to get into a sticky situation. This is the highest paid transfer portal athlete that we've had so far. I don't know what Caden Proctor's was. I don't think it was as much whenever he initially transferred from Bama to Iowa back to Alabama. I don't know what all that was, but it's Texas oil money. You have boosters all over Lubbock that were that were banking on Brendan Sorsby all the way back in December whenever the news first broke that he would be entering the portal. And now you have this news. Take me back to May. What were your initial thoughts when you saw the news that Brendan Sorsby had this gambling situation?
He's not suiting up for the Red Raiders. That was my initial reaction. I thought it was done. Um, Really, my next thought was, all right, so who's going to start if it's not Will Hammond? A lot of people forget the Will Hammond situation in the sense of
Yes.
that's the reason you got Brendan Sorsby, right? In the sense that he tore his ACL last October, and you go in and you're like, all right, I think everybody remembers the last time Texas Tech was on the gridiron. It did not look too great offensively, right? So you wanted to go out and get a premier quarterback. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, Brendan Sorsby isn't a premier guy, but I mean, he looked pretty damn good considering the talent around him at Cincinnati and the talent that he was presumably going to play with at Texas Tech. He was a floor raiser, in my opinion. Maybe not a ceiling raiser, but a floor raiser for the Red Raiders. And with all the talent around him, okay, like you're going to be in you're going to have a chance to make the semifinal, and if the oddly shaped ball bounces your way a time or two, maybe you're playing for a national title.
Right.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself there, but my first thought was, all right, this changes expectations at the greater stage in the sense that I still think you could start Kirk Francis for 12 games. I'm still picking the Red Raiders to win the Big 12. They're just so talented everywhere else. That defense is going to be a top 5 unit in America. And yes, I understand maybe that defense wouldn't translate like people would think to the SEC, but I promise watching it every day, if it's anything like what it was in 2025 and 2026, and I think it's actually going to be better this upcoming year. You may just not have that superstar David Bailey, who went number 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeper though, and so my first thought was, okay, are you in a similar situation? And this is just a year wasted almost in a way where you're going to waste a guy like AJ Holmes Jr., who could be a first round pick on the defensive line, Bryce Pollock, who is a top 10 corner in college football, Terrence Carter Jr. There's just so many guys that returned because you had a guy like Brendan Sorsby coming back, and you really had a shot. And some people will find it laughable, I understand, to win a national title. And so, long-winded way of saying I did not think he would ever play for Texas Tech. And on Monday, I was in. I don't know any other way to describe it than just shock. Like I did not think we would get here, and so I stand, I guess, with a lot of people that are shocked by the situation. I think everybody, if we're being honest, is shocked by it. And we were shocked by the news when it first came out, but I think I'm even more shocked at the fact that we got here. And I think if one thing is for certain on Monday, I think we saw the death of the NCAA as we know it, because this is the final nail in the coffin. We knew they didn't have power, but now we 100% know they have zero power.
I've been saying this for the last year and a half that the NCAA is going to die before the end of the decade. Now I expect it to happen much sooner. I had a conversation, and I've said this multiple times with multiple guests. I had Jake Crane on in February of 2025, and he said, and I quote, I hope the NCAA is done much, much, much closer than the end of the 2030s. And I think we're going to get to the point where not just with this decision, with the Sorsby situation, with the Trinidad Chambliss situation, with the
Who's the guy from Clemson today?
Luke
There was,
Farelli.
yeah, there was a Clemson guy that got a waiver today too. I mean, they
I
have no
figured he
power.
did.
Yeah, they have no
Oh, no, no, no,
power.
no, no, no. I was thinking of the tampering situation, but no, 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 no. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the wide
Um,
receiver.
yeah, 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 yeah. There's another guy from Temple that kind of had the same um, thing happen to him with the JUCO years. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this unless the five for the College Sports Act is officially put into play, the NCAA as we know it is dead. The only way that we're going to have some sort of, I guess, normalcy, some sense of normalcy, which is non existent anymore since the age of NIL. This is, if Congress, how do I say this? Unfortunately, I do believe that federal regulation is going to have to come into play, which I am fully against. But I'm telling you, the way that this is going, the way that the rules have bent, and the way that it's going for the NCAA right now, it's going to absolve. We will have a Super League, and I do believe that the powers that be, in whether it be at the federal level or at the state level, are going to control what happens when it comes to NIL regulation, with roster regulation, so on and so forth. That's just my
I,
thoughts.
I mean, a three letter acronym could change everything. CBA. Just make them employees, man. It's not, and I know it's not as simple as that, right? I'm not trying to act like I'm a lawyer or anything, but
It would
um,
be simple if they would if they would explain to us why there's $100 million in unreleased NIL and unapproved NIL money.
yeah, no, I mean, and if you have the CBA, there's a reason you don't have one, and that's because if you have a CBA, the NCAA is dead. Because at that point, they have to be employees, and the NCAA has built their whole brand and their whole model of business of, maybe there's a better way to say it, exploiting kids and making millions of dollars off of them for the past however many years they've been in existence. The game has changed now, and that's why you have no power, because everyone and all the money involved in this pot now is like, huh, like, I wonder why it's not going to the players that are actually making the money, and these people that are in college sports making a lifetime living off of it in these athletic departments. And some of them are better than others in terms of understanding this. But hey, like, you're not the ones making the money here. It's the players, it's the athletes, right? And education is important. Don't get me wrong. Room and board, very important as well in this whole thing. But at the end of the day, NIL was the great game changer. And once you open that, I think you really started to open the floodgates, and eventually you're just going to have to make them employees. And when that happens, the NCAA will cease to exist. I mean, shoot, it might as well cease to exist already with this ruling, to be honest.
Do you know who doesn't want a CBA?
I
Coaches.
mean, who are you going to say? Because I got multiple people on this side.
Coaches don't want it because they're
Yeah.
making. We're talking about coaches that are making $10 to $25 million.
I was going to say Dabo and Kirby.
Dabo and
Yeah.
Kirby's the only ones that I can know of that don't want this.
Yep.
But I mean, I haven't heard
It's,
Kurt Signetti complain about it, and he's getting paid $70 million over the next 10 years.
yeah. Well, if you have the CBA, the NCAA is the only, and let's call it what it is. This is professional sports, right? The model
Right.
now at this point. College football is the only sport where you have like a lot of money involved. I'm not going to try and act like I'm a math major or anything, but where the
Right.
players get paid less than the coaches. And that is the ultimate downfall and what they don't want to get to. Because like you said, the coaches don't want that, especially when they've, made a living off of making 15, $16 million a year, obviously exaggerating a little bit there, but
Mhm.
they're making some good money. And so if that changes, okay, their salaries go down a little bit because where did the money have to go to? It's got to go to the players.
A lot of conversation that's about to unfortunately have to come to the table over the next year and a half. I'm expecting that if there this was probably the final blow for the NCAA. If it's not the final blow, it's probably the biggest blow the
Yeah.
NCAA has gotten. They're
The
lucky
funny thing
that
is, real quick on the SAVE Act, I know a lot of people don't like Cody Campbell, and I get it. He frustrates me sometimes too as a Red Raider because I wish sometimes he would take a step back, not talk as much. But the funny thing is, if that passes, Brendan Sorsby doesn't play for Texas Tech. So you could argue this is a long game by Cody Campbell in the sense of he wants his bill to pass. Like he's almost using Brendan Sorsby as a sacrificial lamb, almost in a way, to get this passed. And if it passes, Trinidad Chambliss doesn't play, Brendan Sorsby doesn't play. You see all these JUCO guys, they don't
right.
play anymore because the 5-for-5 is intact, and they grant it to where if you there's verbiage in there again, not trying to act like I'm a lawyer or anything, that says if you have had an injunction go in your favor, that's done.
Right.
And so it'll be fascinating to see. I still have a hard time seeing it passes, to be honest, but it is fun. It is kind of a weird double-edged sword kind of conundrum for Texas Tech for sure.
What is your opinion when you heard that he was eligible?
Um, I I figured they would play him. To be honest, I do think that the two games was, if he was going to be eligible, the two games is laughable, right? Let's just be honest. That's laughable in that regard. But I do think, especially after the comments from McGuire this past week down at the TD Club in Houston, talking to a bunch of donors and alumni and everything like that, part of me wonders, and this is all speculation on my end, but I wonder if him saying that Brendan Sorsby may not be ready, or I think his word that he used was like, it'll be a stretch if he's ready by week 3. I wonder if even internally Texas Tech is like, okay, this 2-game thing is kind of ridiculous. Like, we're going to play him this year, but
Right.
maybe they wait until like week 5 or week 6, whatever that first week of Big 12 play is, in the sense of they have a weird schedule quirk this year, Texas Tech. So they play 2 non-con games, then they have Houston in week 3, then another non-con game, and then the bulk of the Big 12 schedule starts, right? I wonder if they just hold him out the first 4 games of the year and be like, hey, and they, PR it up, and it's like, hey, he's just not mentally ready, but it extends it a little bit. So people are like, oh, well, he did miss 4 games kind of deal, maybe to make it look a little better. Um, but we shall see. I do think he plays though right now,
Yeah.
unless something just drastic changes.
I think the biggest difference between this case, and I think that everybody believes this, and there were several other cases, the Hunter Decker's case with Iowa State, the guy from Iowa, and
Hmm.
people were criticizing me because I didn't know the name of the guy who placed like a 2 or 3 $5 bets on women's basketball, that were suspended indefinitely, you're talking about a huge, huge difference. A guy that you're talking about
90K.
guys that weren't even worth much, and you
Yeah.
compare it to a damn near $6 million quarterback. What do you
Yeah, it's
think was
different.
going
And
to
he bet
happen?
90K.
Exactly.
Um, I do think
Exactly.
it's interesting though, from the standpoint of you're right. Not everybody's going to be treated equally in this situation, right? Just because he is a star in the sense of the
Right.
word, and there was a multi-million dollar investment behind him. And this isn't me making excuses or anything like that. Again, I did not think he would be eligible, but an injunction is an injunction. And if Texas Tech plays him, technically they're doing nothing wrong
Right.
at the end of the day. It may be, a black eye to the sport, which I can probably agree with a lot of that. That being said, I mean, shoot, you had two Texas players in the past 2 or 3 years. They basically got caught betting as well on prize picks, and they had to
Yes.
donate that amount of money to charity, and they didn't lose any eligibility.
I remember that news when it first came out, and I remember them being, I think, two or three. I think they were all. Two of them was a scout team. Two of them were scout team players. One of them was on the roster but didn't play.
Yeah.
But
And again, Brendan Sorsby technically wasn't like playing
right,
when he bet on Indiana. Again, I'm not saying it's right, but if you're going around there and trying to find the legality of it.
there's a lot of things that were underlying issues with that one. I heard some people saying that he bet the under on the passing yards that Indiana would have, the under on points and etc. And people were saying, "Oh, that it's insider whatever, it's inside knowledge that they have." Well, I mean, I get that. I'm not. The ultimate thing is this: I'm not justifying what he did was right. I think that I was thinking that he was going to get suspended indefinitely. I thought he was going to enter the supplemental draft. But you had to know. If you are a realist in college football and you understand where the game is at today, you knew that if it got to the local level, if it got to a local county, this was going to end up in Brendan Sorsby's favor. He suspended 2 to 3 games, like I said back in May, and then he was going to be free to play. Now, from what you're saying now, he might be playing come middle of October, whatever it is. We don't know just yet. But again, this situation was so weird from the beginning, and I do find it a little odd that it wasn't until he officially got caught that he decided to enter rehab. But I guess he understands. I guess I understand that too. Plus, there were consequences that the judge would say. I do believe that part of his NIL is going to be like voided or terminated or something like that. And I also say this: he's gonna make it back by the time we get to the 27 draft.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating just from, again, do I, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here, and I totally understand that. And this is what I've been saying on my show all week is, do I think Brendan Sorsby should play? Do I think him getting that injunction is good for college football? Absolutely not. I don't think anybody will say yes to that.
Right.
That being said, you bet your ass I am going to cheer for him every Saturday he shoots up in the red and black, and I am just going to embrace being the villain of college football, rightly or
There you.
wrongly. I think that that's the thing that people have to understand. And I, again, call me a homer, call me whatever you want. It doesn't really matter to me. Um, what has Texas Tech done wrong in this situation, right? Have they been perfect? No, I don't think that they would even say that they've handled this perfectly, but it's hard to handle a first time situation perfectly, right? But they did not help Brendan Sorsby in terms of the legal side of things, right? They made sure he got into rehab. They make sure that there's a treatment plan here. And again, you can say all that is bogus. And I'm not just saying you, I'm just saying the outside noise, right? You can say all that's bogus, but it's one of those deals where he he didn't do any of this at Texas Tech. And it almost feels like, from a Tech's perspective, and yes, I am a little too close to the sun. You can see my background. Y'all know where I went to school. Um, it felt like Cincinnati knew something here, right? And they didn't let anyone know what was
Last
going
year,
on.
they knew about the whole ordeal. It's
Exactly, right?
reported out there.
And so it's like, okay, why is Texas Tech being the one that is shunned here? There's a lot of backlash in terms of you don't like Cody Campbell. Cool. That's fine. I understand that. I really truly understand how, from an outsider's perspective, you don't like the big oil money guy coming in and acting like he owns the program and runs the show and everything. I get it.
Right.
I also understand the NIL side of it, right? You just bought a roster, quote unquote. I think it undersells it a little bit in terms of what Texas Tech did, but nonetheless, I get it. And now you add this, three strikes you're out, quote unquote, type deal with the Brendan Sorsby on top of it. And it's like, all right, everyone's going to hate you. I think there's nuance to it. At the end of the day, though, again, I was shocked that he got this injunction. And for the people out there that think, oh, because I know you brought up the Lubbock County side of it, that judge had no Texas Tech ties. The only reason he was in
That
Lubbock.
was a Houston graduate.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he was from Tarrant County, and the guy that was the initial judge in it, Judge Hayes, recused himself of it
Yes.
because he had probably, I mean, he was too close to the sun. Let's just be
He
honest
was
about it.
gonna he was committing political suicide at that point. If he
Absolutely.
takes the case and he says no,
Lose lose.
everybody in Lubbock County isn't voting for him. If he says yes, then he has to deal with the consequence of that.
Yeah. No, it was a lose-lose for him. So honestly, I respect him for being like, hey, I don't want to deal with this.
Right.
I totally respect it. And so you get this guy that is a retired judge from Tarrant County. The only reason he comes out there is because he was appointed by a Texas A&M and Baylor grad. So they had him come out there. As you mentioned earlier, he's a Houston grad, no Texas Tech ties whatsoever when it comes to his education at all. And from people inside the courtroom, really what it sounded like is, again, and great reporting. I think there's multiple people that have done it. KCBD out in Lubbock. I think Red Raider Sports did a really good job. Every TV station out there, KCBD is the one that stands out to me. But they mentioned that the NCAA kind of went into this argument assuming that the judge knew, hey, he did wrong, right? Not proving that he did wrong. While Sorsby got Jeffrey Kessler as his lawyer. For those that don't know, Jeffrey Kessler is the slayer of the NCAA. That is what he
Yes.
is known for. He's positioning himself to be the union head of when this thing does eventually have a CBA. That's kind of what he's positioning himself for. And so he goes in there and kind of just talks about the hypocrisies of the NCAA, and actually presents a case, it sounds like, from people inside the courtroom, while the NCAA kind of presented, well, he did wrong, right, Judge? Let's get this over with. And so at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you still have to present the case, even if I would say 98% of the people are probably on the
Right.
NCAA side in terms of the allegations and everything. But yeah, he got the injunction. He's able to play. All of these ADs talking trash and everything. The Georgia one is rich, considering all the issues they've got. The Kansas State one dropping every curse word you possibly can. Like, whatever, dude. I'd probably rather, worry about what's going on in-house with you than outside. And then you got the Nebraska one, which is funny because of Matt Rule and Joey McGuire being so close. So that's interesting. And then the Big Ten was like, nah, bro, like, you can play Texas Tech. This is stupid. Like, we got nothing to do with this. So I
And we're
think there's
not
a lot
just
of,
talking about football. This is
yeah.
all athletics.
Yeah. So it's, in my opinion, it's just a bunch of brownie points trying to be had by these
It is a
ADs.
loser's
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah. So it's one of those deals where, again, hate on Texas Tech all you want. I get it. I truly do. In the sense of, I don't think he should have got the injunction either. But at the end of the day, if Brendan Sorsby is ready to play in week 3, he is legally able to do so. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, that is all that matters. Now, could the Big 12 come in and potentially, have some kind of interesting vote? They need a majority to win. I think it's 12 out of the 15, which that's interesting because why does Cincinnati get to vote in this?
Right.
And so you think about it from that perspective. And so if you pass something there, maybe they, have some sanctions put on them by the conference. But does the Big 12 really want to do that for their best, most prized brand on the gridiron right now when media rights deals are just around the corner? I
And a
mean,
team that should be a contender for a playoff.
like, yeah, I don't think you want to do that. So it's very interesting. I hope, because I know I'm getting long winded here, but that 20-minute video they dropped last night, was cringe as hell. I think we can all admit that. I hated it from a PR standpoint. That being said, I hope as a Tech fan that is the last time I hear from Joey McGuire until Big 12 Media Days in a month. The only statement I want to hear released from anyone within the Texas Tech football program, and that includes Cody Campbell, who I think, hey, you've said your piece, man. Let's just calm down, sit in the background, let some things, slow down a little bit. The only thing I think that is justified for this athletic department to release in the next calendar month leading up to the Big 12 Media Days, which is in a month in Frisco, um, is a Brendan Sorsby statement. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can be a one-page thing that he puts out on his social media, a little bit more in detail, whatever it is, right? But having the president send emails to alumni. I got an email from the president of the university last night as an alumni of Texas Tech. What are we doing? Just, I
What
get
the
it.
hell?
I get it in the sense of you want to stand up for the guy as a person, and I'm all
Right.
here for it. I truly actually appreciate that about Texas Tech. I really do. But as a listen, I got a degree in PR. I'm not saying I'm a mastermind or anything like that, but it hasn't been a great showing of PR by Texas Tech in this whole ordeal. And I don't think that a lot of media companies have done a good job either from the PR side of it. That being said, please, Texas Tech, just sit back, let what you put out there fester. Just let it fester for a month. Let Joey McGuire answer a couple questions. Bring two or three of your most trusted players to Big 12 Media Day. Let them speak. It's that easy.
So when you look at this, and by the way, to your point about the villain that Texas Tech is playing, when was the last time we've had a villain in college football? And I put
Hey,
this out not too long ago. The state of Texas is showing why we need a villain in college football. The things that are being said, Steve Sarkisian is painting the target that is about the size of the earth on his back. You have Tech with this injunction. It's been a while since we've had a villain in college football. That makes for
yeah,
good content when it comes
yeah,
to the viewer. That week 3 game, Houston and Tech, probably
right.
the most important game of the season. And in my opinion, it's a Big 12 semifinal game for a chance to go to Arlington. That's what I see at the end of the day.
In prime
What
time on Fox, they moved it to Friday.
on at a night game. That's what makes
Yeah.
it even better. I wish it was on a Saturday though, bro. I'm sorry. I that day
Oh, me too.
that needs to be a college game day game. That needs to be probably the most important game of the season, and in my opinion, it should be a top 15 game. No
Yeah.
questions asked.
Well, I'll tell you
Because
this right now. I know where college game day will be if Brendan Sorsby's playing. It'll be week 8 in Cincinnati, Ohio, when he returns. I can tell you that.
how much do you think that the fan base is going to clown, even though they know damn well what happened and they knew all the
Hey,
things.
hey, that's fine. I think we're good with being the villain on this side. I think we're really good with it. I think we've embraced it. I know some people will say that's corny. It's whatever, man. Like, there's nothing else we can do if you're Texas
No.
Tech. Like, I mean, you just got to embrace being the villain. And a lot of these decisions aren't being made by any of us, right? So it's like, okay, just embrace being the villain on social media. You see it all the time. You have to embrace it. And so, um, you know damn well in that locker room they're embracing it too. And the scary part is they don't need any more motivation. I mean, again, you think about it, 23-0 last year in the college football playoff. They've been clowned for 9 months
Right.
by the time kickoff comes around, just from the standpoint of what happened on the gridiron, let alone the stuff that's happening in the courtroom. So it's going to be a big season. And I've said it over on the Red and Black Report that this is the biggest challenge of Joey McGuire's career. If Texas Tech can navigate this, what feels like going through the Bermuda Triangle and come out the other side with the Big 12 title, I mean, honestly, just build that damn man a statue out in Lubbock, Texas. I mean, really, just do it right now. I'll be right there getting pictures with them as soon as they unveil it, because this is going to be, as you mentioned, we haven't had a villain in a while. I think of Michigan a little bit with the Connor Stallion type deal, but I mean, even before that, what did you have? Like, you really haven't had a villain in college football since what, USC. I mean, I'm probably missing something. Maybe Cam Newton and Auburn. I mean, I love Cam at Auburn, but there's been a lot, right, in terms of like I guess what we would now consider just normal football because guys were getting paid and whatnot, right? But
Right.
um, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch. And honestly, I cannot wait to fasten my seatbelt, make sure I have a 30 pack of Dos Equis in the refrigerator, and crack every single cold one watching the Red Raiders.
I love it, man. I love it. So you look at the portal from this past offseason. Obviously, you lose a lot of talent to the draft, but you bring back a lot of guys that I was really, really intrigued by. Malcolm Simmons, who has a bright future, a guy that was one of the top receivers coming out of high school, paired along with guys like Cam Coleman over at Auburn. He's now a Texas Tech Raider. Having to replace guys like Reggie Virgil, who's now in the NFL. You look at what you did in that department. What does this wide receiver room look like from your standpoint, from what you've heard throughout the spring? How have they developed overall?
Yeah, I think it's interesting for Texas Tech, where the mindset is the air raid, right? Everybody thinks they're chucking the football around. This will be a run first team. I mean, you arguably have the best trio of running backs a team has in the country at Texas Tech. It's an argument. I'm not saying for sure they do. So that helps the pass game for Texas Tech. Obviously, open things up. The number one wide receiver for Texas Tech is actually a tight end. It's Terrence Carter Jr. He's going to be probably a top 50 pick in the
Right.
NFL draft next year. For NFL heads out there, think Harold Fannin Jr., the old Bowling Green tight end, now with the Cleveland Browns. That's kind of who he is. Just a wide receiver that happens to be big enough to play tight end.
Yes.
And when it comes to the wide receiver side of it, you go out and you add a few guys. Dante Lee from Liberty is a guy that's 6'3", has 4'3" speed, really a take the top off the defense type guy. Texas Tech just simply didn't have last year. You get a guy in Jalen Jones coming from Alabama State who averaged nearly 23 yards a catch. He's 5'9", and if you blink, he's gone. Um, and then you mentioned Simmons from Auburn, right? Where he didn't have the opportunity to really be the guy at Auburn because you had the aforementioned Cam Coleman. And forgive me for not remembering the guy that transferred to Florida, but he's pretty damn good too. And
Right.
so you've got a multitude of guys where, yeah, he's the third best wide receiver at Auburn, but I'm not sorry for what I'm about to say. You had Jackson Arnold throwing in the football. You can only do so much. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go to Texas Tech, you're going to have a better passer, presumably, if that's Sorsby or Will Hammond. But you're going to be in a better offense. But the guy that everyone needs to know, and they've heard about him if you pay attention to recruiting, and some people may consider him a bust or what the hell, where did he go? It's five-star wide receiver Micah Hudson from 2 years ago. This was a guy that was rated just up there with Cam Coleman, was higher rate than Ryan Williams. He was the third wide receiver in that class with Jeremiah Smith. Interesting trek to get back on the field. I think he has a true shot to be a guy that if you have Brendan Sorsby starting, this could be 1,000-yard wide receiver as a true junior. And then you can't forget the two different shoe size, the cowboy Coy right there in the middle with Coy Aiken as well. So you've got a lot of good wide receivers and pass catchers, but it's nice in the sense of there's no one clear-cut guy right now. Terrence Carter's the number one, but it's going to be a very, I don't want to say run heavy, but run forward type offense. And that's going to be like a 60-40 type deal, it feels like. And that's going to open things up for some wide receivers that maybe haven't been able to prove as much with the limited time that they've had to play. But in a Mac Leftwich offense, he's going to create space, and all of these guys can separate themselves too.
I think if Micah Hudson hadn't entered the portal this past off season, I think he would have gotten a lot more touches, in my opinion. I just felt like he was so behind whenever he took that break for a couple months, and then when he decides to return to Tech, it just seemed like he was behind the eight ball at times. But glad that he's back. I think he's got a fresh start now. I do expect him to be the number one guy when it's all said and done. When you look at what was on both sides of the line of scrimmage, offensively and defensively, offensively, I have a little bit more questions. I know people were very high on the $2 million offensive tackle and Felix Ojo. People were very high on him. Do you expect him to play any at all this year?
Nah.
I didn't think so.
And that's not an indictment on him. He just needs to gain some weight. He's a true freshman offensive tackle. That's the hardest position to come in right away in sports and make an immediate impact at, even more so than quarterback. Just because you have to gain so much weight, you got to learn certain techniques. So it's not an indictment of Felix Ojo and his talent. I think he'll be a starting left tackle for Texas Tech next season in 2027. But there's no need to rush a guy at any kind of position when you've got Terrence Steele, or excuse me, not Terrence Steele. You've got Jacob Ponton, and then you've got Howard Sampson on the other side. I had a throwback there because Howard Sampson reminds me of Terrence Steele a little bit. And then you've got Sheridan Wilson, the sheriff, right there in the middle, who is a guy that started for 4 years at Texas Tech and probably, I don't know, top 5 center in all of college football. It really comes down to the guards for Texas Tech, and I'm not too worried about it. They've got Jordan Church, a guy that's a mauler in the run game, transferred in from Louisville, one of the top, I believe it was top 25 guards in the country when it came to run grade on PFF. And then you have Hunter Zambrano, who was actually the first guy that they got a commitment from in that historic 2025 portal class from Illinois State. He came in last year, had some back injuries and redshirted, but it sounds like he's going to be good to go at the left guard spot. So, and he got some depth around there, some guys that have grown within the program a little bit. You also got Cash Cleveland, who transferred in from Colorado. So I'm not too worried about the offensive line. A lot of experience returning, but I would be lying to you if I said it was anywhere near as talented as the defensive line.
This defense is going to be, again, the best in all of college football. You go out
It's
and you get
nasty.
Shell Wood from Houston 2 years ago, who, by the way, on a team that was 4-8, still a top 50 defense overall. Now you pair it alongside after what you guys did with Jacob Rodriguez this past year, who I got an opportunity to talk to while he was at the Senior Bowl. I love J Rod. Hell of a guy. I think Ben Roberts is about to be better than him.
He's got a shot, man. He's got a shot. And the crazy part is by no means am I comparing this guy to Jacob Rodriguez, because it's going to be hard as hell to replace him, as you know.
Right.
But you go out and you get a guy in Austin Romaine, who is the second best linebacker in the Big 12, at least from a grade perspective on PFF last year, to replace Jacob Rodriguez. Like, it's wild. So you put Austin Romaine in there. You have Ben Roberts return. You got John Curry, the Lubbock native, playing the star position. I mean, listen, again, I know I said that they had the best trio of running backs in college football. Arguably, I'm putting up those 3 linebackers against anyone in the country, and I think Texas Tech's probably got the best trio right there, in terms of experience, provenness, and just downright great mustaches too. Great mustaches.
Right.
As a babyface assassin myself, who can't really do too much in the facial hair department, I'm glad they wear helmets just from a jealousy perspective, so I don't have to see them as much. Yeah, man.
Fear the
Hey,
stash.
well,
That's all I can tell you.
sometimes we get gifted in certain areas, and that just wasn't mine.
That's part of it at the end of the day. I'm looking at the defense as a whole. I'm struggling to find a weak point. I do think, I guess, safety. You could say that there are guys. It's a young group. It's a department that does tend to get a little bit of controversy at times. I know that it caused some frustration last year. I had my own criticisms of that safety position, but man, I look at the talent that's around. Trey White, coming in from San Diego State, was an absolute stud off the edge, a guy that has a quick get off. Martin Ibarogba, I'm hoping I just said that right. Probably didn't, but anyways, he's a force in the middle. You add him, and you look at the depth that you're adding with him, with Bryce Butler, like you mentioned already with A.J. Holmes, who could be a first-round pick this next year. You add alongside a guy like Adam Trick and Jamon Mathis, who are going to provide depth as well. A guy like Corey Platt, I would not be surprised if you line Corey Platt up off the edge and let him go rush a couple times. Saw him do that a little bit while he was at Houston, and I mean, I know that he's 6'2", 215. He's got the speed and the size of a safety that's playing a linebacker. He was a guy that's it's always going to be in the backfield consistently. That's why I think that if you're Shell Wood, you're utilizing him more of kind of a rover type of player, guy that you can put anywhere on the field, have him cover the middle of the field, and then put him on the edge and kind of rush the passer a little bit. Third on the team this past year, on the Houston Cougars this past year in sacks.
Yeah, no, he's a chess piece, and I mean, not a bad guy to have a fourth linebacker, right? That'll play pretty well. But you're spot on in terms of the position that I think if Tech fans were asked, hey, what position are we most concerned about? It would be safety, just from the standpoint of you got Bryce Pollock coming back. He's a top 10 corner in football.
Right.
Go watch that tape. The dude's a bona fide superstar. Maybe a first round pick next year. He's that good. Then you got Amir Boyd, who is maybe one of the more underrated corners in college football. Opposite of him helps when you have a guy like Bryce Pollock on the opposite side of you. You got BJ, Brendan Jordan coming back at the safety position, but the big talking point, and I wouldn't call it a concern, but maybe a question mark right now, is who is going to replace Cole Wisniewski, drafted in the 7th round by the Philadelphia Eagles, a 6'5", 220 safety that just he was everywhere last year. It felt
Right.
like he was like Victor Wembanyama of wingspans at the safety position. It was unreal at times. And so, who do you replace that with? There's a couple of guys that have kind of asserted themselves. Malika Scare, excuse me, is a guy that I think has a
Mhm.
really good chance at winning that. There's a couple others, but that's probably going to be the biggest battle within camp in terms of who actually starts, because I think really all 10 other positions on defense you feel pretty damn good about, just from the simple standpoint of you return what, 6 starters from the best defense in college football last year, and 3 of them were all Big 12 players. 2 of them were damn near all Americans in AJ Holmes and Bryce Pollock. So it's
Mhm.
like, all right, how bad can you feel about it? But yeah, I mean, Sheo Wood is as a defensive coordinator. If you don't know the name, know the name. That guy is a bona fide superstar and top 5 talent in all of college football. When it comes to just turnaround defenses, I mean, shoot, like think what you said it perfectly. Think about what he did at Houston on a trash football team, and I mean every syllable of that word.
Yes.
They were a top 50 defense, and the only reason they won 4 games. He comes to Texas Tech, and the Red Raiders are the best defense in college football statistically in damn near every metric imaginable, right? They were a top 10 defense of the past decade. That's how good they were this past
Mhm.
year. And now you get more guys in here, more depth. And that was the thing that I think a lot of people were worried about. But another aspect of it, you're not going to have a David Bailey on this team because, again, he's a top 2 pick in the NFL draft, he's a
Right.
superstar. But you have, I think, more depth and more impactful depth from 1 through 5, 6 in that edge group, and a lot of guys closer to Romello Height. And if Romello Height's your best pass rusher, at least what he did last year at Texas Tech, it's pretty damn good.
Yes. Do you expect Ladainian Guyton to kind of play a role?
Yeah, he'll be a designated pass rusher, DPR.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't get on campus until a couple weeks from now, so he'll be a DPR. I don't know exactly when. They'll probably ease him in a little bit, but don't be
Right.
surprised by probably like week 6, week 7 if he's not coming off the edge and just being an absolute lunatic and Looney Tune type freaking edge rusher.
When you look at this schedule, aside from the Houston game that I've already said is a semifinal for the Big 12 championship, who do you? What's one of the most intriguing games that you're expecting to maybe be a trap game or anything like that that could define Tech's season in 26?
Arizona State. That's the only other game I'm worried about. You don't play BYU. You don't play Utah. So it's really Arizona State. It's a home game. I know some people may say TCU, but I'm not too worried about TCU at the end of the day. Um, and so I think really the only 2 games I'm like legitimately kind of concerned about, just because again I know it's going to sound arrogant, I know it's going to sound cocky, just Texas Tech is just so much more talented where it matters than anyone else in the Big 12, and that's in the trenches. Like they
Right.
have bona fide grown ass men, and everybody else comparatively feels like they have at least one me starting in that. And listen, I'm 5'8" and 165. That's not what you want. So it's like, well, maybe it is in some. I bet I could get after the passer. No, I'm lying. Anyway, but
I can
I
barely
do
do
think,
that now at 6'3", 230 pounds. So I know
yeah,
how
no,
you.
no, 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 yeah, yeah. Listen, there's a reason I talk into the microphone. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I think that really that's the only 2 games I'm really worried about when it comes down to it. Just from the standpoint of if Texas Tech loses another game on their schedule outside of one of those 2, I think something just drastically wrong happened. And Yeah, it's just hard to fathom just because of
Right.
how good they are, how deep they are at positions that other teams just maybe have one or two dudes at, and Texas Tech has maybe six, seven, eight comparatively.
A lot to expect this upcoming season for Texas Tech. A lot of controversy this week, and something that you don't really expect out of Lubbock. But you
Hey,
know
hey,
what?
hey, 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 hey,
What you
hey,
mean? What you mean?
hey. Have
What
you
you
been to
mean?
Lubbock?
I would love to go to Lubbock, honestly.
Go to Lubbock, man. I'm telling you, don't knock it till you try it. Okay,
I
that's what I'm
look.
saying.
I'm not.
I'll say
I'm
this:
not. But I'm not. Am I knocking Lubbock?
Lubbock's not for everybody. Let me say that. Let me say this: Lubbock's not for everybody. But I promise you, if you give it a chance and like a fair opportunity, you're gonna fall in love with that place.
Yeah,
It,
I say the same thing about Baton Rouge, but you won't catch me in Baton Rouge at all.
I do like
Just
Baton
saying.
Rouge. I've been there a couple times.
Eh,
I don't mind it.
for someone that lives there, I mean,
Fair enough. Fair enough. I get it. I get it. I get it.
RC Maxfield of the Red and Black Report joining us. RC, where can we find some of your awesome work covering Texas
Yeah.
Tech?
Yeah, you can follow me over on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, the Red and Black Report, giving daily videos on everything Texas Tech. And Lord knows we've got plenty of talking points right now when it comes to the Red Raiders. And then you can follow me over on Twitter at RCMB323. I'm definitely tweeting more than my wife likes me to, but at the end of the
Oh
day,
gosh,
business is business. And hopefully she loves me enough for me, which she does, by the way. Love
that's
you, Haley.
good. RC Maxfield, we appreciate your time, man. Have a great rest of the day.
Appreciate it, man.